Hi, Tyra Butler here, early career clinician community coach, and I want to share with you the road to licensure. So quite often when I talk with people who have just graduated or are about to graduate, they're really looking to understand what the landscape is professionally out there, because some schools will tell you a little bit about that, and you might learn a little piece here, piece there in classes, but a lot of schools don't really cover exactly what you have to look forward to and what you are faced with when you graduate and become an intern or associate based on which state you're in. There's different terminology for that, and based on your degree and licensure, what license you're going after, there's also different terms for that. So, and whether you're a master's or doctorate level clinician, that's why I like the word clinician, because it does cover, therapists, counselors, social workers, psychologists, all of that. So, professional clinical counselor. So, we're all hopefully getting in this field to work with people, help them, and work clinically. So, some of you may have had positions before or even currently where, you're salaried or you make an hourly wage, and you're working with people in a clinical type setting, but you're not quite a therapist or counselor yet. So more than likely, if you're listening to this, this is to cover the road to licensure and what the different paths are out there. And so you are either probably in school or have graduated and kind of want a little bit of an overview of what there is out there. So first of all, once you have practicum, you have experience. That is professional experience that you are taking with you out into the real world. So it's not always a real glimpse into what other positions might be like, because more than likely you're going to branch out and do something different. But it's also likely that you might stay in that same niche or vicinity of work. So because you do have that experience, and it can go on your resume, it should go on your resume, and it's experience that you have that you can then use as leverage to find another position. Once you have your registration or intern number, associate number, you are eligible to start practicing under supervision. So in most states, that just means you have to go out on your own and find paid work. You have to find work. Unfortunately, there are some positions out there that you may choose to take because of the experience that you might gain in the hours, but they might be unpaid. However, there really are more and more paid positions, and there's advocacy going on, at the state level to have more positions that are paid. We're master's and doctorate level clinicians, so we definitely should be paid for our work. So in terms of the traditional route is what I'm going to cover first, and then a little bit more of the non-traditional. So the traditional route is really going for community mental health positions, and also positions that fall under treatment type centers. So community mental health really is county type positions. So those are county or state funded positions, where in California they use Medi-Cal. In other states it's Medicaid, Medicare, those types of basically state funded insurance. And those are, clients that you're working with at like a poverty and below level that qualify for county and state funded services. They might be court ordered people. They might be in the system because of, family issues, child abuse, those kinds of things. There's so many programs that I couldn't even cover it in one video. The amount of programs that there are when you're working in county funded. Some are straight through the county exactly. Some are more like third party type organizations where they're contracted with county or state funded insurance, and that's how that they get funded and how they get paid. Some are grant funded. So those ones are the ones that are known for heavy amounts of paperwork. Sometimes you get decent supervision, sometimes not. They tend to be, heavy on the administrative side, and sometimes having high amounts of counseling or therapy sessions. So I've even heard upwards of having to see like 30 to 40 clients a week, plus have tons of paperwork and things like that. I'm not trying to bring up just the negative side of it. That is a lot of what I hear about. And that also, though, on the flip side of it, the reason why a lot of those positions are attractive is because of the pay. Because they are funded, they are paid positions, more than likely. And if they're full-time, they come with benefits. So they can be very attractive because of that, those factors, to find a position where you're paid well, get benefits, and earn hours, and you're getting experience in the field. If you look at that on paper without knowing what, some of the other factors, it might sound like a no-brainer to go that route. But I just want you to know, and we want you to be an informed, person going out there into the professional field, that you can also look at those companies and those organizations on a site called Glassdoor. It's a site that past employees do reviews, kind of like a Yelp type review of companies. And so you can find out what past employees say. Some companies don't have any reviews, but some do, so it's worth looking into. And so community mental health, whether it's part-time or full-time, can be very exhausting, but it's paid and has benefits. So it's kind of a, you have to weigh the pros and the cons, of course, with that. And, there's lots of good experience to get in working with families and adolescents and, at-risk youth, some of the difficult populations. So in some ways it can be good experience to get. The key is to not get stuck in any of those positions if it ends up, burning you out or making you feel, overworked and too stressed and not time to be able to do other kinds of things in your life, like perhaps another kind of position to give yourself more well-rounded experience, or get hours and experience, in a different niche or area of the mental health field. So those are things to keep in mind as you're looking. And you want to really vet out these companies and these supervisors, because you want to interview them as much as they're interviewing you. And then, okay, so that's kind of the county area of or state-funded type programs. And again, there's a lot to go in with that, but this is just an overview. So then there's treatment centers. There's residential, there's inpatient and outpatient. So inpatient is more intensive treatment. That might be for substance abuse. It might be for eating disorders. It can be for at-risk youth even. It can be for mental health disorders, more of the severe spectrum of mental health disorders. There's a lot of programs that have come out that are not county funded. They are privately owned or funded in some other way by some organizations, or they get grants. And so that can be, really intensive treatment. That's where patients are actually housed either, in homes or in hospitals, and they're getting very intensive treatment. Then there's outpatient. So that would be like the next level. People move from an inpatient usually to an outpatient with like substance abuse and eating disorder. That would be like where they're functioning. They're not needing to be hospitalized or need, intensive detoxification or intensive medical treatment. They're more functioning and able to, kind of go back out into society and start acclimating to life, but they still need support and treatment and regular interventions. So those can be also pretty, paid well. Both eating disorder, substance abuse treatment centers, they provide, good experience in those fields and in that, those niches. And because they are, fairly intensive issues, you can kind of get an experience of the full spectrum depending on if you're an inpatient or outpatient of that. You can get an idea of the full spectrum of these disorders and the treatment for them. And then when you might see someone in maybe, a private practice setting that has maybe just body image issues, or they might drink a little bit too much, you're kind of coming at that from some depth knowledge and experience, because you have worked with more, the more intensive forms of that, or seen that, or been exposed to that. So those are some great benefits to working in those kinds of places. The same thing with working with adolescents, like inpatient residential treatment for them as well, because you will see more of the severe spectrum of the issues. So the same thing with adolescents. If you work in inpatient residential treatment for adolescents, with like at-risk youth and different behavioral issues that adolescents have, and that there are treatment centers for and residential homes for, then you're going to be exposed to some of the more severe issues that are out there, that troubled youth have. And so that if you have a private practice, you're going to be able to kind of come at adolescents from a more understanding approach, because you're going to have more in-depth knowledge and just exposure to those kinds of issues. And so it's going to make you feel more equipped when you're actually working with a little bit more less severe issues with youth, with teens, with family issues, because a lot of these treatment facilities, they do family groups, they do family sessions, and it's really intensive treatment. So therefore, when you're actually in a private practice type setting, or even like maybe an outpatient setting, you're going to be more equipped to be able to handle and understand where they're coming from when they have less severe issues, more like everyday type problems. So these treatment facilities, both inpatient and outpatient, are wonderful places to get experience, and they pay. You get hours, and you get really a broad range. You can get individual therapy counseling experience, you can do groups, and then also family sessions. And you might not be leading those, you might just be a part of them, but the fact that you're getting exposed to that and you're being a part of it really does give you some incredibly valuable experience while you're able to get paid. And it doesn't usually encompass tons of administrative paperwork that a lot of the county type positions have. So there's benefits in that way. There's not a lot of full-time positions like there are for county positions while you're pre-licensed in the treatment facilities, but there are some of those as well, especially like in hospitals and more larger type programs where they have that capability to hire full-time clinicians on while they're pre-licensed. So you also can get really great supervision and great additional trainings at these types of places. That's also a benefit actually at county positions. They do offer a lot of extensive education and training in terms of their evidence-based approaches and the approaches, that they have to enforce and use. So then there is an in-between between the traditional and the non-traditional, and that would be working for a group practice. So there's lots of centers that are popping up all around. Some of them are like specific issue related, like PTSD centers or OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, or anxiety stress related disorder centers. Those are more common nowadays, but there are a lot of group practices, and that means that like one person that had a private practice became very successful. They might be well known in their community, and basically they have an influx or a surplus of referrals of clients that they can then basically bring on an additional clinician or two, or maybe multiple, maybe have interns or associates underneath them that they can supply referrals to and supervision to build a practice. So the pro of that is that they're giving you supervision, they're giving you a place to work, and they're giving referrals. You might have to, rotate rooms and have shared spaces like that where you don't really have your own office or anything. But they're giving you the referrals, and you're getting a broad spectrum of experience working with, probably a variety of issues. You're probably not going to have a niche at that point, or necessarily pick the kinds of clients that you work with, though you might be able to give them a preference so that they know kind of your specialties, and so you will get those specific types of clients when they come in, but you'll probably have a broad range. And then they also will be taking, probably a higher percentage of what you make in terms of the fee split or structure than they would in a private practice type setting, because they're providing you the overhead and the clients, so they take a percentage of that. That tends to be a little bit higher than when you're in private practice. But it can be a good place to start if you find someone that a supervisor that you really like, and it seems like a good fit. And it can be a really good interim place, especially if you plan to be in a private practice eventually, and you can't find, say, an actual private practice that wants to hire you on while you're pre-licensed. So that gets me to the next one, which is private practice while you're pre-licensed, or private pay. That's what we call it in California. And so this is considered really the non-traditional route to go, because some people don't even know that it's possible. You may not even ever thought, like, what? I can start a private practice while I'm pre-licensed? Like, I need a supervisor. I need, so much. Like, how would I be able to do that? And I want you to know it's completely possible, as long as it's according to the law of your state. And if the state law says that it's okay, according to your licensing board, and it should be on the licensing board's website, clearly stated. It might be an FAQ or something like that. But it's possible if you find a supervisor that is willing to take you on, then you can start in private practice while you're pre-licensed. I did it right out of graduation, literally right when I graduated and had my intern number. I had 5 clients who followed me from my practicum position to private practice. And I'll tell you more about my story, but I just want you to know it's completely possible. And the pro of it is, one, working in private practice is more comfortable and has many perks to it than more the traditional type internships. But you're also starting yourself out on a path of being able to have your own practice, potentially in the office that you might be able to stay in all the way through licensure, and be able to really establish yourself and build from there with someone that you might really learn a ton from, who has a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience in insight, education, savviness, skills to be able to teach you and share with you that you might not get, unfortunately, in some of the other paths or internship types of jobs. So it's really there's really a lot of benefits to it, and it's completely possible. So, and you also tend to make more money that way, because overall you tend to earn more of your fees that you bring in. So the way that the fee structure and fee splits work tend to be more in your favor. The responsibility is more on you to bring in the clients and figure out a lot of the pieces to the puzzle. But that is also completely doable as well. And that's one of the things that I learned how to do, and I am very zealous and passionate about being able to teach you guys how to do that, and want you to know that it is completely doable. And you just have to, know step by step exactly what to do. So anyway, so I'm going to just recap. There is the traditional form of internship or pre-license positions, and that is community mental health. That is county-based type positions. That is also lots of programs and, state-funded type programs. There's so many, it's hard to go into. Then there is inpatient, outpatient treatment programs that fall under substance abuse, eating disorder treatment, at-risk youth, adolescent, issues. Also the severe mental health spectrum, things like schizophrenia, more of the severe borderline personality, those types of more severe mental health issues where they're not necessarily functioning in society, but they can't stay in hospitals, so they're in a more intensive type, inpatient facility. So there's inpatient, outpatient treatment facilities that give you great experience, and they're also paid, and they don't come with the same con of community mental health with the extensive paperwork and administrative type issues and having to deal with a lot of bureaucracy. So they're more privately owned, and so they tend to be more enjoyable to work for, but also give you great experience, and they're also paid. Then there is the in-between of traditional and non-traditional of group practices. They might be issue-specific centers, and they can also just be general group practices, counseling centers that start up as someone that was in a private practice setting, or two, three people that joined forces and started a group practice, and so they figured out, how to generate referrals or get on insurance panels, and so they have connections to be able to provide referrals and bring on clinicians to be able to pay them working for, clients that they provide. And so that you can get a broad range of experience that way, and you get paid as well. The pay range varies quite a bit with group practices because those are privately owned, and so it's based on how the owner wants to negotiate and handle that. Then there is the beautiful pre-licensed private practice where you really set out and find the supervisor that you want in the kind of setting, the office that you want. You might be sharing an office with maybe one or two people. You might be having your own office. It really depends on that situation. And the fee split usually works a little bit more in your favor because the responsibility is a little bit more on you to put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together. But another pro is with both group and private practice, you're learning how these businesses operate. In a private practice, you're learning more intimate knowledge of how to run like your own type of practice. Not that you're running it, but you're learning how your supervisor does that. And usually they are setting you up with a lot of their systems. So then you are already set up for your own private practice by the time you're licensed, it's established, and already basically been in place for a while because you are building that as you're pre-licensed and as you get more hours. It also frees you up to be able to work, say part-time over here in your private practice while you're pre-licensed, and maybe, in a community mental health part-time position, or even full-time, or in inpatient, outpatient. So, you're in both ways earning money, earning hours, and all kinds of experience. So it's kind of a synergistic type, process, and there's so many options in terms of like how much you work in one or another. You might work 8 hours here, 10 hours here. You might work 30 hours here, 15 hours here. There's just so many ways that you can do this, but the main thing I want to get across is that so many people end up in positions just because they think that's, that was what's available, that's what I applied for, and so I took it and now I'm stuck in it, or maybe it turned out great and so they stayed with it, but a lot of people end up in positions that they don't end up liking, and then they may end up getting out of the field or quitting altogether and giving up on even getting licensed. And I just want you to know that there are so many opportunities in this field, and that if you are strategic about thinking through what it is that you want, like what you want your career to look like, where you want to end up when you're licensed, even what do you want to be doing next year, and what do you want that to look like, then you can take the steps. Then you can look for the types of positions or the opportunities that you can create to fulfill that, to get there, because otherwise you will just end up kind of doing whatever. And sometimes that, it's kind of like gambling. Sometimes that will pan out well, but other times it doesn't. And so it's best to be strategic and think it through so that then you can move forward and go after what it is that you want. And of course you can course correct and make, changes as you go, of course, but it's just so ideal to think it through ahead of time and then go after it and get the resources and the support and the information that you need, to be able to fulfill that. So I am so passionate, and my mission is to be able to help you guys do what so many people can do, and so many people I've helped to do, which is be successful in this field. It's so rewarding when you are doing what you love to do, and you're learning and you're growing and you're getting paid and you're earning hours. And I was able to get through this successfully. I was able to figure out what worked and how to become successful in this field. and I just really want you guys to be able to do the same thing, and it's become my mission to be able to help you because I know what it takes, and I have the tools and I have the skills to be able to help you guys do it too. So I hope this helps. Please carry on the conversation, ask questions, leave comments, and let's just continue the conversation and let me know what this brings up for you, what questions you have, and let's, get you where you want to go. Okay. Thanks for listening. Bye.